Sapninnn the absolute swizzlers. The first day, ladies and gentlemen, of getting this absolute mop. Can you even call this a mop at this point? Sorted out. But yeah, so the beginning of my hair transplant journey starts today.
Sapninnn, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my brand new channel. Now, a lot of you guys know me as Shawrey, but this channel right here is Alex Shaw, which, if anyone hadn't clocked by now, is my actual name. That was an awkward laugh. But for you guys who don't know, I'm Shawrey and I've been a professional FIFA/FC player for about 5 or 6 years. This is actually the first year this year where I'm not really doing the professional side of the game and more sort of focusing on the content side. But on this channel, guys, I'm looking to show you a lot more of my life, whether that be hair transplant stuff, gym/fitness content, which is something I'm really interested in doing, and any lifestyle stuff that happens in between. It's all gonna be here on Alex Shaw. And what better place to start than 1 month after my hair transplant and showing you guys my entire journey leading up to it and the actual procedure day itself and why the hell I decided to get a hair transplant done in the first place. Now guys, I want to be as raw as possible in this video and just take you through the process of everything that was going on in my mind, etc. Let's just pour the heart out, shall we? Now, I think the most important question I want to start off with is, why did I actually get a hair transplant? And the very simple answer for that is, I really hated losing my hair. Mentally, it was a very difficult thing to deal with. You know, it was really getting to the point where every time I go to look in the mirror, I just think, oh, and yeah, you know, you just don't feel as confident. Every time you go out somewhere, every time you go and do something, you're constantly just thinking about your hair, which is a crazy sort of like draining lifestyle to live. With the job that I do, obviously, I hear a lot about it. You know, you're always gonna get jokes about that kind of thing. You know, within like lad friendship groups, there's always gonna be jokes about people's hair and receding hairlines and that kind of thing, like your hairline's offside, lad, and all that kind of thing. And I can certainly take a joke. I think this was the kind of thing now where I got to a point where I knew this was gonna affect me just from a general sort of confidence level itself, which is why I decided it was time to get a hair transplant. But yeah, guys, I guess something really important to touch on is, when did I actually start noticing my hair loss? Now, I would say it was probably sort of 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 years ago, I started to realize I probably had less hair than I did when I was 18. I could never have foreseen how quickly hair can genuinely just diminish like that. And there's a whole host of reasons why you can have hair loss that are family related. And it also can be lifestyle as well. Like genuinely, if you're going out and drinking every weekend and on the worst diet possible, you do have more chance of a hair loss of someone who eats clean, works out all the time, lives a healthy lifestyle. But genuinely, a lot of it, I believe, is down to genes from the research that I've done. But yeah, I think one of the biggest catalysts that made me go and get the hair transplant done was this photo right here. I was down in London doing a brand deal, and yeah, this photo right here was one of the biggest eye-openers to me of like, oh my God, Alex, you've just got to make a change here. Because the way that I was wearing my hair at this point, you know, I barely had any hair left at the sort of frontal area. So what was left, I just really tried to grow out as much as possible and cover up the hair. And that was just something I did not want to do anymore. One of the worst things is like, you know, when the wind blows and like all the hair comes up, man, like it's just such a soul-destroying feeling. And before I get into any more sort of frequently asked questions, which is kind of what I want to answer in this video, I want to take you guys through the journey and strip it all the way back to when I got my first consultation done and what happened on that day, etc., and kind of how the whole process began. So after doing a lot of research online and looking into all kinds of things to do with hair transplants, I knew you only get a certain amount of goes at this. You don't just have unlimited hair transplants that you can do. So I had to make sure I did it right. Now, an assumption that everyone's got in terms of where I went for the procedure was that, oh yeah, you just went to Turkey, go to Turkey for a hair transplant. And there certainly is a lot of good clinics in Turkey. There is just also a lot of clinics that might just want to take your money and maybe not have your best interests at heart in terms of actual hair loss. And after doing some research, I found the private clinic on Harley Street in London, which was just absolutely fantastic. So I went in and did my first consultation, and here are a few of the clips from a bit of the aftermath of the walk after the consultation.
The long story short, ladies and gentlemen, the doctor I just had the consultation with has advised not to have it for at least 6 months and figure out how much more hair loss I'm going to have on the top before doing the transplant and stuff. Of course, these kind of things, you just want them to happen quickly and you want them to get over the line. And you know, especially for the type of job that I'm doing as well, it feels so like, oh, I just want it done. But any more of this wind and this hair's gonna fall out. Very difficult one to process, I think, just because I've had this date set for like a month and a half, and then you have it in your head like, oh, something's gonna happen, we're gonna do something off this. But hopefully myself in 6 months' time is going to look back at today and say, you made the right decision in waiting and seeing if any change can happen, or it's going to just keep going. But we'll have to see. And then, yeah, come the start of FC 25, your boy would probably be getting a hair transplant.
And yeah, that first consultation, I have to say, was the most important thing in my entire hair loss journey, because what was so important about that was learning the main thing is that a hair transplant does not just fix hair loss. It doesn't just mean you get some hairs moved from one area to another and all of a sudden your hair's just fine and dandy. That is certainly not the way that things work. And one of the most important things I took away from that consultation was learning from the surgeon that your hair is just going to keep going. And what he explained to me, which was when they transplant hair from the back of people's heads to the front, them hairs are essentially not going to fall out your head. They are essentially not susceptible to DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, which is essentially what makes you lose your hair in males. So what happens if you don't take hair loss medication but get a hair transplant? And he was showing me the photos of how people would genuinely have almost a row that looked like a hedge almost, like the R9 trim. And then they would be balding from behind it, which was something I looked at and I was like, oh my God, this is such an eye-opener. I can't believe that this is actually the way that it works. And to go into more detail about that, he essentially said to me, if you want to get a hair transplant, you can come back for a second consultation in 6 months, but within this 6 months, you've got to start trying hair loss medication. If you don't try the medication, you know, you're way too young, your hair's going too fast or too unpredictable is one of the main things he was saying about my hair loss. So I was in a position where I thought, right, I'm gonna have to try the medication, and thank God that I did. So after that first consultation, I definitely left it feeling a little bit, because you really get your hopes up about having a hair transplant done. Oh, it's gonna go fix everything. But that was the most important day of it all. And then flash forward 6 months, we have a much happier version of myself from after the consultation, 6 months after the first consultation.
Ladies and gentlemen, looks like the transplant is going ahead. To 6 months before Shawrey. Thank you. Thank you for waiting, because it was the right decision to do. And I think I literally said it at this exact bit where I was last time. The vlog can almost look exactly the same mirror by mirror. The frustration of 6 months ago, but now, yeah, just really glad that I waited it out, because, you know, that's the most important thing, is not rushing this thing. You want the outcome to be all good for life. So I'm absolutely buzzing. Boo to the yar.
And I think one of the most important things to remember with a hair transplant is that doing the research and making sure you're patient with everything was the most important part of everything for me. A lot of clinics will do the procedure on you and they will do a good procedure. It's not like they're just gonna do a terrible job, but they say the best clinics are the ones that turn you away, right? The ones that say, look, you need to go and take medication, you need to go steady the hair loss before you can actually get the procedure done. And I'm so happy that the guys at the private clinic did that to me and said, look, take yourself away and we'll reassess. And so anyway, the second consultation finishing, I was like, right, fantastic. He told me we could book in a date for a transplant. And then flash forward another 2 months, exactly about 1 month ago from now was the day of the procedure, where I had the absolute main man, James Rodriguez, aka James Shaw, my cousin, travel down with me for the actual procedure. And let me show you guys a couple clips from that.
Sapninnn Ladies and Gentlemen, I am currently on the way down to London, and for one thing and one thing only, this local barnet is about to get absolutely slide tackled to another country altogether. It is hair transplant time, and I'm with the absolute brother. Well, actually, I say my brother, it's my cuz.
Sapninnn, guys.
Sapninnn the young king. James, I'm just sat here just like, what the hell is going on, brother?
Just pondering life.
Pondering life. Boys, I'm literally, I mean, my surgery is in about 15 hours time, guys. So like at 10 o'clock tomorrow, I am gonna be saying hello to the surgeon, going in, and yeah. It's just, bro, it's a weird feeling right now.
How are you feeling? Nervous? Excited?
I'm not that nervous yet. I think tomorrow I'm gonna be really nervous. I think that's when like the nerves will kick in, but I'm just really excited in the end, because I'm just imagining now though, like how I am in the car right now today, and then like tomorrow I'm just gonna look like an absolute balloon. But
yeah, mushroom balloon.
That's mushroom balloon, yeah, of course.
And then the morning of the procedure, the big day.
Guys, it is a very big day today. It is time to get this absolutely slide tackled off my head today. If I'm being completely honest, I can't actually believe like that it's come around now. I think it's one of them things I've had in the pipeline for such a long time that now that it's actually here, I'm like, nah, it's actually happening today. Like, this is the craziest thing. Just two cool dudes in a lift.
Just need some music. Can you play some music over the
Yeah.
top of this? Some elevator music.
Hey Tom, I didn't know you were in London today. Right boys, I've been advised to have a big breakfast, so it would just be rude not to, wouldn't it really? Bash. Bash.
And guys, funnily enough, from when I literally made it to Harley Street, outside the clinic, I had pressed a camera setting wrong on my camera and I lost all the audio from all the recording inside of the clinic. However, I do still have all the clips, so I'm just gonna be able to talk you through this stuff now, what happened, how I went about the whole procedure, etc. But yeah, going in, what do you do on the day of a hair transplant? Went in, sat with my cousin a little bit, we had a little bit of a laugh. They were actually playing some funny tunes in there. So we were just vibing out to that until I got called downstairs to speak to the surgeon, Dr. Michael Mouzakis, who's an absolute legend. Amazing shout out to the guys at Harley Street. It just was a fantastic experience. I had to sign a couple of letters before the procedure to say, obviously, I was happy with what happened, giving my consent for everything, essentially. And then it was literally like, right, so what's the first thing you do on the day of the actual transplant? Well, that is going and sitting in what felt like a GTA Barbers at the time, the way I literally just sat down and it was just like, right, let's get out some razors. It was almost like the COVID times, you know, when you've got to start shaving each other's hairs because it was just getting way too long. I remember just sitting there thinking, I'm quite literally about to pull up to Baldy Boulevard more than ever. And I'd never had a shaved head before, so I was so interested to see what it was gonna be like. And then I had the grand reveal to myself, where I literally went over to the mirror with the camera for the first time and saw myself with a bald head. And to be honest, it wasn't as shocking as I thought it was gonna be. Genuinely, I was kind of there like, you know what? I don't actually mind it too much, which was one of the funniest things that happened on the day, because people were saying to me, oh, you actually look okay with a bald head. Like, oh, why even waste the money on a transplant and stuff? But no, in all seriousness, thank God I got it done. And after becoming a bald man for the first time, it was time for the actual transplant itself to begin. So I went downstairs into the room to get the procedure done. So the procedure is essentially split into two parts. The first part being extracting all of the grafts out of the back of the head, and the second part being moving them all back to the front area. So with the first bit, they essentially lie you down and they put anesthetic into your head. And I'll be honest, anesthetic was the only painful part of the entire procedure. At the same time, it wasn't too bad at all. It's just, you know, you feel slight bits of pain of the anesthetic going into the head. Genuinely, once the anesthetic was in, I could count on one hand how many times I actually felt anything coming out of the back of my head, which was the weirdest feeling. So there I was, kind of dozing in and out of sleep. You literally are lying there for 2 hours while they do all the extractions from the back of the head. Then it was very simply, finished that part of it, and I was like, oh my God, I actually feel absolutely sound. Had a cheeky 20-minute lunch break where I had a sandwich, and at this point I was just gassing up the surgeons, just saying how fantastic they'd been with me so far throughout all of it, and how painless the entire experience had been. It really did take me by surprise. And so anyway, with part one done, it was time to get into part two of the procedure, where for this part you're actually sat up rather than lay on your front, and literally I was just sat there staring at a clock for 2 hours straight while they just put all the extracted grafts back into the front of my head. Now I had 850 grafts extracted, which is equivalent to 2,500, as your hair follicles, they can have anywhere between 1 or 4 hairs within them. I finished the procedure and both my cousins came in, James and Harry. Shout out to the absolute boys. And yeah, it was just great to have them with me for straight after the procedure. I had about a 40-minute gap where they said to me, look, you just need to stay at the clinic, just make sure you're feeling okay, because I'm not gonna lie guys, you do get put on a lot, and I mean a lot of medication. And then it really was as simple as, right, 40 minutes after the procedure, if you're feeling good, you are all good to go. And I was actually given basically a goodie bag that was full of loads of things to treat my head afterwards, you know, spraying the head after the procedure, taking all the tablets and stuff like that for the first week. And flash forward to now, 1 month after the procedure, I'm actually feeling fantastic with the way it's growing through at the moment. And I'm just really excited to see how the results continue. Now, an important thing to touch on is what medication am I actually taking? Now, the two main things I am taking is finasteride and also 10% minoxidil. Finasteride is much more of a halting your hair loss, essentially keeping the hair that you've got on your head. And minoxidil is something to promote hair growth in areas where your hair has not gone, but has thinned. In areas where your hair has actually gone and the follicles are completely dead, no matter how much you spray on that thing, it's very, very difficult to get any sort of revival of any hair. To my understanding, I'm not an absolute genius on this, by the way. Understand that with medication, you'll hear all these things about side effects. I'll be honest, let's be completely honest. anything you take on the planet has got some sort of side effects. Even healthy foods you eat these days, there can be something told to you of like, oh, you shouldn't have too much of that. So my advice with that would be, you know, do your research about the side effects. And if you have a feeling where you want to get on this sort of medication yourself because you might be losing your hair, listen, you are not alone in this situation. And if you feel like you're having side effects, then yeah, okay, maybe you're gonna have to accept losing your hair and that kind of thing. But just remember, and this is one of the main things I'm trying to remember, guys, and like, I'm trying to just give this advice as openly as possible as someone who's kind of been through this whole thing, is that like, either way, it is not the end of the world. You are the same person that you were, whether you've got hair or not. It really doesn't define you as a person or anything, because genuinely it was at a point where, and I still do it to this day, I can't lie, you know, I look at people's hair all the time, and I've heard this about sort of the mentals of people who lose their hair. It becomes almost an obsession, and it has for me, which is where, like, when I look in the mirror myself, you just look at your hair all the time, and I think, oh God, I wish it could look better, I wish it could look better, which is exactly why, you know, I went and got the transplant done. So yeah, touching on that and circling back almost to the first question of this whole video is like, you know, why did I get a hair transplant? Make sure you do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it because someone's making a bold joke about you or anything like that. And as much as I did experience a lot of that, obviously they do get to you at times sometimes, but at the same time, I can also take the banter. It really is like, do you actually want to do it yourself? Is it something you're getting pressured into from other people or like that kind of thing? Do not do that at all. Do not let someone else define you getting a hair transplant, was the main thing I had to tell myself. It's definitely been a bit of a process this first month. Obviously, the first week itself is what is the most difficult. You have to be really careful with how you sleep. Obviously, you cannot risk falling onto the transplanted area with the way that it's so sensitive at that point. Because the follicles have only just been put into your head, you gotta be really, really careful, you know, you don't damage anything. Obviously now, a month down the line, my hair, I can touch my hair and it's, you know, I don't feel uncomfortable touching it anymore. Whereas at the start, it was so sensitive. I had to be really careful. It's really cool to actually document the journey and just keep it going. I've been actually doing some bits on my TikTok as well, going through that. So if you guys follow that, I'll leave that in the link in the description. And now I can even start resuming gym stuff, which ties nicely into this channel actually, seeing as I'm hopefully doing some gym related content on this channel. I think I'm gonna change hopefully to definitely. So if you guys are interested in seeing more of this kind of content, please make sure to subscribe to the Alex Shaw channel. I'm still Shawrey, by the way, as I've already said. And let me know what sort of real life content you guys wanna be seeing. And I'm sure I'll make another video hair transplant questions related. If any of you guys have got any questions, please just let me know in the comments. I'm so interested to answer them all. And as I was saying before, I wanna just be really transparent about this kind of thing. It's an experience that I've gone through and I'm happy to share with you guys. I've already spoke a lot on my own YouTube about it. I do a lot of streaming over on Twitch as well with all my gaming stuff, and I've answered questions very open and honestly there. So if any of you got any questions in the comments, please let me know and I will happily answer them. And yeah, just really excited to see where this thing goes. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next one. Wow, it feels weird to say that on another channel.